So students, we have already studied about the decline of the Mughal Empire. So now we are going to study this chapter, Traders to Rulers, where we will be talking about the coming of the Britishers. How the British came to India as traders to indulge in trade and make profits, and eventually they go on to expand their power, expand their control over the region, and go on to become the rulers. They go on to rule India for about 200 years. So how did they came as traders? How did they come as traders and went on to become rulers? That is what we are going to study in this chapter. British East India Company. You must have heard this name, the English East India Company or the British East India Company. So what was this East India Company? We see that the British merchants in Britain, they had established this English East India Company in 1600. Merchants are people who are involved in trading and commerce. I am sure you must be aware of trade, where there is a commodity which is sold, sent to other regions where there is shortage of that. There is import of material, that is some commodity, it could be food material, spices, clothes, or any such thing, stones, precious stones. Any such material that is required could be bought from some other country and provided to the people who require it. So basically we see the British merchants, they go on to establish this company, English East India Company in Britain in 1600, that will be indulging in trade. Now Queen Elizabeth I, who was the Queen of Britain at that time, she grants exclusive rights for trading with India to English East India Company. What is exclusive rights for trading with India? That is, according to a charter that was issued by Queen Elizabeth I, now the English East India Company had the right to trade with India. That it can come to India, take the products from here and go on to sell them in the European markets. Now it had the exclusive rights that meant that only English East India Company in Britain can come to India and indulge in trade. No other company, no other trading company in Britain had the right to come to India and indulge in trade. So this was exclusively right given to English East India Company. There were many trading companies in Britain, but it is only the English East India Company which was given this right by Queen Elizabeth in 1600 to go exclusively and trade with India. It was a huge, very beneficial for the English East India Company, because now if alone that company has the right to trade in India, that means no other company from Britain will come and have trade here. So there will be no competition for them. They will come, buy the products at their own price, go on to sell them in European markets at the price that they want, and they will alone make the profits. There is no rival company there with which they will have to compete. So there is no other country from Britain that will come and have trade with India. So we see that is the reason why English East India Company came to India for trading purpose. There was a huge demand for Indian spices. Indian spices were huge in demand in the European market. People wanted Indian spices, and because British, they had a very good navy, they had good command over the ships, over the sea power, they could easily indulge in these trade. So they take advantage of that. They come to India, buy these spices which are in huge demand in Europe, spices, cotton, indigo, silk. These are certain products which were in huge demand in Europe. So they come to India, they buy them at lower prices, and they go on to sell them in Europe at huge prices, making huge profits. So it was very profitable to have trade with India at that point of time. So we see that the English East India Company is given this exclusive right. It comes to India, it sets up its first factory in 1612 in Surat. So where is the first factory set up? It is set up in Surat in 1612. By whom? By the English East India Company. Now what is this factory basically? Factory means that there will be a warehouse. Warehouse is a place where all the material that is to be traded is kept. It could be raw material or it could be manufactured goods. It could be, simply raw cotton, raw silk, raw spices, or it could be, these manufactured, that stitched clothes could be there, and so on. So warehouse is a place where all these trading material is kept. Office, there will be offices of the officials, of the merchants who will be indulging in trade. There was residential quarters, they will have to stay there for months, to procure all the products, bring them to Europe, and so on. So basically a factory setup which will be having a place where all the product will be kept. There will be a place for keeping all the official records. There will be a place for the officials to live. So this is what the kind of setup that factory is known as. In 1623, we see British goes on to expand its influence. Until now, we saw in 1612 it had its factory only in Surat, but now in 1623 it goes on to establish factories in Surat, Bhuj, Ahmedabad, Agra, Masulipatam. So eventually it is spreading its control, it is reaching out to different places and establishing its factories. Then what happens? The company then goes on to develop its settlement in Madras, Bombay, and Calcutta. That is, until now it was just having, their offices and, trading warehouses where only the material would be kept. But now they began to develop settlements. That is to say, what is a trading settlement? Trading settlement, they will go on to acquire large part of land which is not inhabited by anyone. There is vacant large piece of land there. They will establish their factory. They will go on to establish houses, and then eventually they started fortification. That is, they go on to build a large huge wall around this area, and within that wall they would have their own establishment. There'll be houses, there'll be residential places, there'll be one place to keep all the material, there'll be offices there. Eventually they go on to develop their own small kind of towns or settlement there. So eventually they began to acquire more areas and set up their establishment there. So the company goes on to develop its settlement in Madras, Chennai, that is today Bombay, Mumbai, and Calcutta, which is present day Kolkata. In 1639, Madras was given to British by a local ruler. So British, they go on to establish their trading settlement, which is known as Fort St. George. So they go on to establish this fort. It is fortified. It has huge walls around it, so as to protect them from attack by another European company, say the Portuguese, the Dutch, or the French East India Company, to protect it from any native ruler if they decide to attack them. So basically they go on to establish such trading settlement. So in 1639 they acquire Madras. They set up their trading settlement as known as Fort St. George. In 1688, Charles II, he gives the island of Bombay to English East India Company at the rate of £10 per year. So English East India Company just needs to pay £10 per year, and it was given control over this to establish its trading settlement in the island of Bombay. Then in 1690, British goes on to establish their trading settlement in Kolkata, which is known as Fort William. So eventually we see that they are, expanding from just setting up factories. Now they are setting up trading settlements. So eventually we see these important centers, Madras, Bombay, and Calcutta, they become the headquarters, which were known as presidencies. And these presidencies, each of these presidency was under a governor. So they go on to appoint a governor who will be looking after these presidencies. So we see that they came as traders, but eventually they are gaining control over the administration also. Small regions as of now, but eventually they will go on to expand their influence. So now they are gaining control over the administration also. They are moving towards becoming rulers. In 1717, Mughal Emperor Farrukhsiyar, he grants the English EIC. EIC is East India Company. I have used the short form. You are not allowed to use the short form. So we see that Mughal Emperor Farrukhsiyar, he goes on to grant the English East India Company the right to carry out duty-free trade in Bengal, Bihar, and Orissa. What is duty-free trade? Duty-free trade means, like, if now these are foreign people who had come to India to carry on trade, to import material. They will be bringing finished goods from their country, selling here. They will be taking spices, indigo, cotton, and other material from India and exporting it to Europe countries. So when you are doing this export and import, a tax is always imposed on it, which you have to pay to the ruler of the country. So suppose they came to India, they were in Bengal. So whoever is the ruler of the Bengal, they will have to pay a custom duty to him so that they can indulge in trade. They can, if whenever they are importing any product, they have to pay a custom duty or the this custom duty or tax to the ruler. In case they are exporting any material, even then they have to pay a small export duty or a tax to the ruler. That is usually how this trade functions. But what happens, this Mughal emperor Farrukhsiyar, he says, he grants this farman, he says that the English East India Company can carry out duty free trade. It can carry on trade, the import and export, without paying taxes on the import and export to the ruler. No need to pay any tax. Only yearly, every year you just pay 3,000 rupees to the ruler. That is fine. You don't have to pay this custom duty in the region of Bengal, Bihar, and Orissa. Now 3,000 rupees was not a huge sum. The amount of profit that these people were making, 3,000 rupees was a very small amount. Had they been paying these import tax and these custom duties, the rulers would have benefited a lot. They would have made huge profits. But these Mughal emperors, the later on Mughal emperors, they were weak, they were not so intelligent enough, and so that is why they allowed them the duty free trade. So we see in 1717, Mughal Emperor Farrukhsiyar, he given the English East India Company the right to carry out duty free trade. No tax will be paid on carrying out trade to the rulers. In which regions? Bengal, Bihar, and Orissa regions. The company goes on, that is the English East India Company, goes on to make huge profits in India. Now gradually, once it begins to become financially very strong, gradually it starts to interfere in the political matters of the Indian rulers. And that is how the transition happens from them being just traders to going on to become rulers. They go on to lay the foundation of the British rule in Bengal by the end of the 18th century. So we will see how by the end of the 18th century, they go on to become the rulers of Bengal. Eventually, they came as traders. They were allowed to carry out trade, duty-free trade without paying any tax. And eventually, they make huge profits, take advantage of the situation, and go on to become rulers.